You're listening to Escaping the REI Newbie Zone podcast, where you'll learn the underground, closely guarded secrets that will revolutionize your real estate business. This podcast is all about helping you exit the real estate newbie zone and enter financial freedom, building up your real estate throne. This is Escaping the REI Newbie Zone podcast. And now your host, real estate investor, entrepreneur, world traveler, and nationwide mentor, Chris Bruce.
Now, I want to apologize. Usually I do my audio podcast on the computer over Skype, but we had to use the phone since this particular person was on the go. So the audio isn't as great as the other episodes, but it's still clear. You still can hear it. But I mean, I'm telling you, what this person is going to bring to this podcast, this interview is, man, I got him all riled up. He was literally dropping gem after gem after gem. It was such a great interview. I love doing. But before I introduce my guest, what I wanted to talk about is, I told you guys so whoever was leaving comments, we got a lot of people that left comments on the podcast, reviews. They also shared the episodes, and we do have a very special winner. So I want to announce that real quick before we get into this interview. So the person that won this contest, okay, his name is Anthony. He said, "This is a game-changing podcast, consistent new information, and take your skill set to new heights. Chris explains in great detail to how to be disciplined and consistent in your business. He also offers a free training course as well as contracts and other things you can use that you may not know how to find. It's all here for free. Start engaging today and escape your fears. This podcast will guide you." So, Anthony, my friend, you are the winner. Okay, so go ahead and want you to send an email to my team at support@reiwealthprofit.com. Again, that's support@reiwealthprofit.com. Let them know that you are the winner of the contest for the 200th podcast episode. I'm going to hook you up with access to our free acquisitions and conversion training course, as well as being a member of our bi-weekly group mentoring program. All right, so go ahead, send us an email. Once again, Anthony, I appreciate you for leaving that review on the episode. Now, today, my guest is he's been a real estate investor in Houston for a few years now. He's been doing good things in the business. He's been wholesaling a lot of houses. He's doing some other strategies as well too. But one of the things he got really, really great at was understanding data. All right, and understanding lists and understanding how to get in contact with these lists once you have this great data. So he is the one of the founders of the, which I love, extraordinary software out there called Skip Genie. You guys know, you've heard of me mention it before on other episodes about the software, why we use it when we are doing one-off skip tracing. All right, so for a lot of you that are going out there driving for dollars, finding vacant houses, and you want to know how you can get in contact with the seller, this is the software that you would use, Skip Genie. And so what I want to do is bring on my guest, Larry Higgins, who's going to go in detail about how he got started in the real estate business and his advice for newbies when it comes to finding good data, skip tracing, obviously using his service, Skip Genie, and what other ways you can do to get in more deals for your real estate wholesaling business. All right, so let me go ahead and wait no further and introduce my guest, Larry Higgins.
How you doing, Larry?
Hey, Chris, I'm doing great, man. How you doing?
Man, I'm doing excellent. I can't complain. Can't believe we're already heading on the recording of this episode. We're heading into November. It's crazy, man.
Yeah, I'm telling you, not just the year, but especially the last few months has just been an absolute blur. But
I agree. It's like I literally remember it going to New Year this year, and I'm like, man, we're about to go 2019. It's crazy.
That's a good sign. It means we're staying busy and we got more than we can get done. So it's a good problem to have.
I agree. So, Larry, for those of you that might not know much about you, can you tell me a little bit of story about what you were doing before you got into this whole data business and real estate?
Yeah, I was, my background's construction project management. After college, I worked for a multifamily builder, building apartments and student housing. Did that in various places around Texas. Actually ended up working overseas. I was going to do it for a year doing construction. I ended up doing it for 5 years. It's great, awesome experience all the way around, from work to just personal experiences and things like that. But once I wrapped up the overseas stuff, I came home and I wasn't quite sure. I didn't want to be managing projects the rest of my life necessarily, but I wasn't sure what I wanted to do in the long run. And I took a job that was a change of pace for me, thinking maybe this would be something I'd be interested in. And it turned out it wasn't. And it turned into some of the longest days. I was going to an office every day that the hours, just the slowest hours I've ever had in my life. And it was miserable. I mean, really enjoyed the people I worked with, and the company was great, and the pay was great, all that. But I hated going to work. I've never experienced that in my life. So buying rentals as kind of a long-term nest egg was something I'd always given thought to. Nothing serious, definitely no strategy, just like, oh yeah, buy some rentals, and those will be worth quite a bit when you're ready to retire. Right. And it finally just dawned on me, I hearing different advertisements on the radio, these seminars on the weekends, and I just started looking into real estate. And basically I said, screw it, I'm going to do real estate. Quit my job and just jumped into it. And it was a little painful that first year. There was a big learning curve. But I don't advise everybody just to do that, because I really did that. I was like, hey, there's 1,000 other people in Houston probably doing this. I think I can figure this out. I didn't have the responsibility of other people relying on me. So I had that flexibility, and I just jumped at it. So that was, I guess I'm coming up a little over 4 years ago, about 4.5 years ago, and made the jump into, I was actually, initially I did owner financing my first 2 deals. That's what I wanted to do. I love that model. And after I did the first 2 deals, I said, I guess I'll go wholesale something for some cash. And had zero desire to be a wholesaler. Zero. It was just something you do, in your free time or in between owner finance deals. It was the way I looked at it. But fast forward a little bit more, I got into wholesaling. I really enjoy it, and really specializing in skip tracing and cold calling for the deals I go after.
Gotcha. Okay. And which market did you start in in the country?
Okay, so I'm in the Houston area. That's where I started. That's where most of the vast majority of the deals I've done are. And now I do stuff. I'm starting to consistently do market and do deals in the other major markets in Texas. Austin, San Antonio, and Dallas, DFW area.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. So you got into wholesaling. Did you try because most people, when they get into wholesaling, they try some of the traditional marketing methods like, bandit signs or direct mail. Were those any of the strategies that you started off with?
Oh yeah, just like everybody else, man. I have fond memories, well maybe not fond, but vivid memories of my late night bandit sign runs. And I was just paranoid of getting caught, like I was going to go to jail or something. But I'd literally go out in the middle of the night, all night long, put out bandit signs. And I got leads. The problem with that, and even the mail, I was handwriting the envelopes, the mailing addresses, and handwriting my signatures on all the letters. I don't consider myself an expert on copy, but, I had people calling me. The problem was I was so inexperienced, I didn't know. I blew deals, absolutely 100%. I didn't recognize some things as deals. I didn't know how to negotiate others, or didn't know how to establish, what's the rehab? Is there even a buyer? Could I find a buyer for something like this? So it cost me. I spent a lot of money on that education is the way I look at it, just going through those growing pains. And so I did get a deal I think my first 2 deals were from direct mail, that first 2 deals from marketing, I'll put it that way. And bandit signs, I got some appointments, but I never got a deal out of it. I know I put out probably over 2,000 signs, which at the time I thought that was a lot. I was getting phone calls, but it didn't lead to any deals. And now, while I reflect and kind of look back, I'm like, what was the problem with that? As a new investor, how could that, say I didn't have the cash reserves when I quit my job and I put this money into mail and bandit signs, there's a finite amount of time that you have to start making some money to live off of,
Exactly.
You can't live off your bank account forever. And I think those are all, obviously people are still doing deals from bandit signs and direct mail, but it's a very saturated marketing channel. Yeah. And the problem with it is there's a cash outlay. You're going to spend money on mail and you're going to spend money on bandit signs. But if you're going to do that, first of all, there's a ton of competition. Your phone may not ring. This was not even 5 years ago, but there's a lot more mail floating out there, direct mail from other investors than there was then. So your phone may not ring as much, and when it does, you're much more likely to blow it and not get a deal. So I look at that as very valid marketing channels, for more established investors or have the financial resources. But for newer investors, it's if you're not really dialed in and know what you're doing, you can spend a lot of money before you get that first deal. So I'm sorry, I'm kind of rambling about that, but something that's really I've given a lot of thought to lately as far as where a lot of newer investors struggle. It's getting that, how much money they have to spend to get that first deal, how much time and how much money. And that kind of helped steer me. I knew I was struggling with it at the time. It helped steer me towards, by accident, the harder to find the deals that nobody else was going after. And I learned that by the return mail I was getting, and I kept hearing about driving for dollars and vacant houses. And I remember thinking, if vacant houses are such great leads, and everybody, that's like the number one piece of advice when you hear from the more experienced guys to newer people, like, how do I go get a deal if I don't have any money? They're like, go drive for dollars, go find vacant houses. I'm like, well, if it's that easy, let me go try it. And I started learning kind of the intricacies of going after vacant houses and skip tracing and things like that. And it just grew from there, basically.
Gotcha. Okay. No, I love that because you're right. That is one of the number one things people ask. Well, how much does it cost to do it? How much marketing do I have to put out? Or like you said, when they're driving for dollars, even with that, it's like, okay, well, what do I do to get in contact with the seller, right? Oh
yeah.
And so, that's one of the reasons why we're going to talk about this in a minute. I love your software. So, for the people that are new, right, they're coming in new to the business, they're driving for dollars. One of the things that I love is, and I want to talk about why you even went this route of getting into a software business, is what should someone do? So once they finally get a lead that comes in from driving for dollars, they get all these leads or whatever, what should be the next step?
So what I tell, especially for newer people, that's kind of the feel for your audience is, there's a lot of people, maybe not brand new, but I'm all about prioritizing. It's like, don't just go get 10 vacant houses. Go, depending on your market. If you're in a larger market, you can go find 100 vacant houses, no problem.
Right.
You can go do that pretty quick. I love vacant houses, but they're not all equal. Some are highly distressed. So before you ever, assuming you're on a tight budget, before you ever even spend $1 in skip tracing, go find 100 vacant houses or 200, whatever it is you can do within a few days. And then prioritize them just based off of free information from your county. Are there delinquent taxes? Where's the mailing address going to? Is it in another city 5 hours away or out of state? Or is the owner of record the estate of, meaning the owner's died? That tells you a lot. Just, again, that's all free.
Yep.
And then you can just pick your top 10 or 20 And I've literally, I preach this, I talk about this, I've done it myself, because what happens is you start chasing down all these leads as you come across them, and some of these can be harder to run down when you skip trace, and you can run into dead ends, and before you know it, you spread yourself over 50 leads, and you can't remember where you left off on each one of them. Trust me, I know. So I'm like, try and keep it in manageable chunks. Like I said, go get 100, 200 vacant houses, pick your top 10 or 20 based off of who's got the biggest tax issues. I call it the trifecta. I'm looking for death, vacancy, and taxes. And you might be able to identify those just from free public records. So you pick your top 10 or 20 and then start skip tracing those and running those to ground completely. You're going to find dead owners. There's a lot. That's probably one of the big reasons houses go truly vacant and distressed.
Yes.
And this is what I struggled with. I'll never forget when I made this connection between poor data and better data. If you're using the cheap stuff like white pages and been verified, I'm not saying it can't work in some cases. It will give you good phone numbers sometimes. But you will call dead people and you don't even realize you're trying to call dead people because their records aren't up to date.
Right.
Even with the upper tier services, even with our service, not everybody, the death record isn't always there for us to pull to reflect that. But there's things to pay attention to. What is the age of that owner? If it's a vacant house and the owner is 98 years old, do you really think you're going to get them on the phone? No, it's like, don't hesitate to call relatives.
Right.
It doesn't, whether they're dead or alive, my bottom line is if I can't reach that owner, I'll call their cousin, their daughter, mom, dad, ex-wife, anybody I can get a name and number for, I'll just start dialing them. And that will make the difference in whether or not you get some deals. Like it's happened on numerous, more times than I can count. And when you do that, here's the key. You've already found a house that a lot of other investors they don't realize that they need to be, they don't realize that they need to try and put this effort in to find this person. A lot of times when you get in these situations, there's no competition. So if you're a newer investor, you're not going in there into a bidding war situation. And one of the other things, I'm really going on a diatribe here, but one of the other things about vacant houses I love for newer investors is they tend to be easier to negotiate and they tend to be better deals.
Yep.
And when you move them, they're much easier to move. It's not an owner-occupied house with that awkwardness of bringing in, your buyers and all that. A lot of times, to this day, when we get vacant houses, the vast majority of times we have free and open access to it. If the owner doesn't, generally they let us put a lockbox on it. So those three things are key for me for the newer investors. Better deals, easier to negotiate, and access.
Definitely. Because the thing about it is that, like you said, especially when it's vacant, there's going to be some distress there, or there's going to be, I tell a lot of new investors that even if the house is not one of those things where it has a lot of repairs, a lot of times they're going to need upgrades. The cabinets are old, the bathroom is old. So you can use that as that negotiation tool to leverage that property, and get it at a lower price for you to be able to wholesale it.
Absolutely. And I, if I could only pick one piece of criteria for a lead, and I could only have one, foreclosures, delinquency, vacancy, probate, it would be vacancy, because there's such a high correlation to other forms of distress from there. Your vacant houses tend to be, maybe they are in pre-foreclosure, maybe they have delinquent taxes, a dead owner, it's in code violations, bankruptcy, divorce, all that stuff. That one thing leads more often to other forms of distress. But you got me riled up, man. I'm just a big believer in them, especially for I love helping the newer investors kind of get their footing. This goes back to you don't have to spend a ton of money to go get your first deal with this targeted approach. And once you do build up your cash reserves, now you're much more comfortable in a better position to start playing with the more expensive forms of passive marketing like mail, bandit signs, PPC. That stuff's expensive. In a major market, the average cost per buy is probably between $5,000 and $7,000.
Right.
So I love this as a way to kind of get situated, get established, and grow from there. So,
I agree. So one of the biggest issues that I saw with people that are getting into the cold calling and understanding how to skip trace is that, and I ran this issue as well, is that in order to get great data, from the relatives, the phone numbers being legit, cell phone numbers, stuff like that, is that you have to have it's either a very expensive subscription model that you have to agree to, or like there's just so many requirements in order, to get into like a TLO, or some of those other ones on micro built that, you have to have an office, you have to have this, and, a lot of the new investors don't have that. They're working from their home or Starbucks or wherever, and they don't have the certain things that those companies look for. So the one thing I love about you guys' company is that it's just as great data without all of that other requirements that most of those big companies, require. So what was kind of the reasoning or what was the inspiration of you guys creating, this great software for investors?
Yeah, it was actually kind of by accident. So everything you said, 1,000%, as far as that's what's called the credentialing process when you try and get into a lot of these upper tier services. Like you said, background checks, office inspections, and all that kind of stuff. And and the reason is they're providing sensitive information on people. Social security numbers, driver's license number, all kinds of stuff. And I know I went through it, and it wasn't easy. That was when I made my jump from what I call the lower tier stuff, like Spokio and Been Verified.
Right.
I jumped into the upper tier, and even if I would have known for sure I could have made it through the credentialing process, which it was a big question mark to me. I still had to figure out at that time. I'm still fairly new, but at that time the commitment was $500 a month for a year. I'm like, crap, man. That was a big deal to me.
Right.
But I knew I needed better data. So, fast forward, I don't know, maybe 3 years, and I'm working with my partner Will, and we've gotten really good, and we've built out some stuff internally just for our own needs, and we really became proficient, and our core competency was at skip tracing, and internally we built out the stuff to do the bulk skip tracing. And initially, this was just going to be kind of a little not side project, but maybe a side business. We were just going to have, some of the larger investors in different markets around the country just provide them bulk skip tracing service. And at the time, I was kind of cognizant of what's going on in the market. There's more and more people going into it. People were having a lot of challenges with mail. That's what everybody tells you to do when you jump in this thing is direct mail. I mean, I don't know anybody that says don't mail. It's typically you go to the seminar, it's like drop mail. Maybe do some door knocking, bandit signs, all that, but mail, well, every weekend seminar in every country, every major city around the country is just pumping out more and more people jumping in this market, flooding this channel with mail. So I was kind of aware that was going on. There's a lot of struggle there. And when I went on the first podcast, just to talk about skip tracing and cold calling, it just kind of letting people know that we had this service. It was still just strictly going to be some bulk skip trace service for the higher volume guys. And from there, we got a ton of feedback from guys that, hey, I only need to do 50 a month, maybe a couple hundred. And I realized where the true need and the true pain was. And it was for a lot of people. A lot of them did tend to be newer investors, and they were looking for a true skip trace service. They couldn't get access to TLO or AccuRent or IDI or whatever. And that's when it hit me. It's like, hey, we can offer just as good a data that's sanitized. With the way we work our stuff, there's no security issues. We don't have to require that credentialing process, and we can really meet a need out there in the market. And that's how the dashboard came about, where it allows you to log in and do manual searches. And we built it out to make it as easy and as easy as intuitive as possible to go in there and do true skip tracing. And, the term skip tracing gets thrown around a lot. A lot of people are actually using a data appending service, which there's a place for that depending on your overall strategy. But if you're using data appending for your more distressed leads like vacant houses, good luck. I hope you got a ton of vacant houses because you're going to have a horrible contact rate. For certain types of leads, you need true skip tracing, just period. So that's kind of the evolution and how we got to this point. And I've had a lot of fun just dealing, again, I really like dealing with the newer people. Those are the people who truly get to help a lot. But it's been a lot of fun. I've enjoyed it so far.
Definitely. Okay. And so so somebody that wants to get the Skip Genie software, what some of the things that, the benefits that they can get once they actually go in and choose a subscription, some of the benefits that they can start to use the system for right now?
First and foremost, like our data is as good or better than anything out there. Like you're getting great data, period. Yeah, I'll put that up against anything out there. So that's a given as far as I'm concerned. But on top of that, so you've got access to the data, but what makes us truly unique is we do a weekly phone call. I'm on it every Wednesday night. Sometimes we have to push it to Tuesday or Thursday, depending on my schedule. But basically, once a week, I'm on there to help. Whatever issues you're having, maybe it's, hey, I found this vacant house, the owner's dead, and there's no relatives. What do I do? Or, hey, how do I go hire a cold caller? Or, we have scripts we hand out. We provide our customers. That call is like I dedicate my Wednesday nights. Like I'll talk till 1 a.m. if people have questions. Could be broad strategy, whatever it is. If I can answer it, I'm on that call to do that. That's where I really think we make a big difference, are the people that utilize that call, and I can kind of help walk them through certain things. So.
Definitely. I agree. And especially for those of you that knew that's wanting to get into cold calling, which I'll tell you that's our highest ROI as far as marketing strategy that we're using to get deals. The great thing about it is that, with Skip Genie, that you not only getting great data, but you're also getting that support and that education and knowledge you need, because there's so many new investors that they don't know the lingo, they don't have any sales background. So this is, for the cheap, the lowest price that they're offering is, which you can definitely go and charge a lot more, well worth it. And also, not to go, but also I saw that you also put some new features in there where you can verify that the phone number, I think it was verify the number is legit or real or something like that. I saw you guys added, and something else you added in there too. I forgot. I saw like two new features that you added since the new release.
Yeah. So the way Skip Trace databases work is, we provide phone numbers. You get them from all these databases. And these phone numbers, it consists of numbers that person is associated with. Their cell phones, their home phones. In some cases, you'll get back all their business phone numbers from an office. It just depends. But these are numbers that they're associated with the subject that you're searching. We don't know if they're good or bad. Nobody can tell you that. So what we've done is integrated a feature to where this really helps the people that are manually dialing. And you can do, it's called a connectivity scrub. You can scrub all those phone numbers, and if the system can verify, so now we've had to add a new system on top of the databases. If we can verify that it's definitely a disconnected number, it'll mark it as disconnected or connected. Still, it may not be the right person, but over the course of weeks, months, a year, whatever, I used to do a lot of manual dialing. That gets old after a while. That annoying disconnected message in your ear. So that's a time saver, and so we added that. And the other one is the DNC scrub. So I'm not an attorney. I don't tell people to call, don't call. I'm just saying, hey, we're identifying this number is either registered on the national or the state DNC list. So you can make an informed decision. Do I want to reach out to this person? But more importantly, there's something called, are they on the DMA? And basically that means, are they a known litigator? So we show three things. Are they on the state, national DNC list, the state DNC list, or are they a known litigator? A known litigator is somebody that has filed suit under the umbrella of some type of TCPA do not call violation. So again, I'm not an attorney. I'm not giving you legal advice, but I would definitely think hard before I called somebody that's a known litigator. So we're getting, I'm glad you brought that up. We're getting that is a fairly new feature we've added, but we're getting a lot of good feedback from our members on it.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, because I've had some people that ask, how do I know that I'm on the DNC list? And so I like that you guys added that as an extra feature that people can utilize for extra safety.
Yeah, it's just again, everybody gets to make their own decisions. We just want to help you make an informed decision. So I can't. There's other stuff we're always going to be looking to kind of add and improve what we have. We're not going to be, some companies try and do, I think, too much. They try and be good at everything, and that's not our thing. Right. But within the realm of this and getting a feel for what our customers are struggling with or what they need and what makes sense in what we provide, we'll be looking to do stuff like that just to make it an overall a better, more valuable service. So.
Okay, perfect. So let me ask you, in your experience, because there's another thing that people have been talking a lot about. In your experience, do you, as someone that's maybe enough new, a little introverted or whatnot, would you tell them to try to ring this voicemail or call or vice?
With the ringless voicemail, if you're introverted, the best piece of advice I can give you is just suck it up and make the calls until you can get a deal or two. Like my main piece of advice for brand new people is like your first real goal, it's outside of deals obviously, is get to a point to where you can hire somebody to do the calls for you, whether it's a VA or a somewhat local caller. Not only does that way it takes it off your plate so you can focus on getting more leads and you're not burning up all this time making these calls. But in the interim, there is no replacement for getting somebody on the phone live and talking to them. Now there is a place for ringless voicemail. Like say you have a list of 2,000 properties. It's going to take you a long time to dial through all that. If you're even with a manual dialer or an auto dialer, it'll take a little bit of time. So I would say there's a place for that to start let's call the 2,000 properties a campaign. Go ahead and do a ringless voicemail blast to those 2,000 property owners. Just see who calls you back. Try and get the low-hanging fruit just, within the first day or two, and then start working through your calls. The mistake I see a lot of people making is they're relying on that ringless voicemail. Like they send the ringless voicemail and that's it. Like, look, it's a very generic message. They could very well disregard it. And you're also counting on them to write down the phone number you leave in that message in most cases and call you back.
Right.
And I'm telling you, that's a lot to ask for a lot of these people. Some of your best deals, some of your absolute best deals, they would never call us back because they didn't think they even owned the property. We had to get them to answer. And that's the God's honest truth. I mean, some of them are receiving mail. They weren't calling anybody. And when we get them on the phone, this is a heads up for anybody that's out here cold calling. If you call somebody and their response is, I don't own it anymore, the bank owns it or the county owns it, or I don't even know if I own the property or something along those lines, when I hear that, I hear cha-ching because I know they own it. That's why I'm calling them, or they're an heir to the owner. And mentally, when they say that, I know they don't expect anything. They've accepted zero for this property. So that's just a heads up. If anybody ever gets that response from somebody, just don't write it off. I've seen that happen where they're like, oh, okay, you don't own it. They accept it at face value from the seller. Oh, they don't own it anymore, and they move on to the next. It's like, no. they showed up on your list for a reason. And so don't take them at the word. They can I'll give you an example right now. And I'm sorry if I'm rambling about this, but
No, I love it.
Yeah, working on a deal right now. We contacted the guy. We had to call him multiple times, and it wasn't one. I'm trying to extricate myself out of really looking for these home run type deals and just let a process play out and see if we can grab them anyway without me having to really search through and identify the more promising or what I think might be hot leads. So this guy was on a call list, and we were calling. Finally, he answers, and he's like, "Well, I don't even know if I own the property." Okay, if you do own it, would you like to sell? He's like, "Yeah, if I own it, yeah, I'll sell it." Okay, so right there, I know he doesn't expect much, if anything, for his property.
Right.
So there may be some title issues we have to work through, but he is on title, and we basically said, "Hey, he has some delinquent taxes. Hey, if we take care of this and that, and you can walk with $5,000, would that work?" Yeah, that's fine. Okay, cool. This, taking the time to make those calls, getting them on the phone, explain that to him. We're looking at $75,000 deal. Now it could fall apart very well, but I've had others that didn't, that were $70,000 deals, in that exact same scenario.
Wow.
They were 70, 80, $150,000. So
wow.
This one's still in the potential category, but it's put that and highlight that in capital letters. It's very real potential. So that's just an example of like a current thing.
Gosh, I like that. That's really good gem, guys. I hope you picked up on that. That I've definitely had some people that have contacted us back and used that line. So I know that that's true, that they don't know that they are the owner of the property, which has kind of like freaked us out a little bit. Like, how do you not know you're not so that you're the owner?
So I talked to some of our members, especially the newer ones. They're like, "How can somebody not realize it?" I'm like, "Look, man, I don't know. You just have to accept it because it's true." But it's crazy. Like, how can you not know that you own something or you have the legal right to sell something? It happens all the time.
Yeah.
In those cases, we're typically the ones that are a lot more motivated than they are to try and make a deal happen, because in some cases it's almost a negative, not nearly as often, but they're skeptical that they can even do this. Like, you have to put them at ease that this is legit. So it can be a little bit different kind of a challenge occasionally. That's most people are like, "Oh, you want to give me money? Okay." How much?
Exactly. All right, perfect. Okay, so Larry, how can the listeners go ahead and get involved with the Skip Genie software?
By all means, check us out at skipgenie.com. Check out our website. You can find out a little bit more about us, what all we do. It's the newer website we found. I mentioned earlier, this kind of happened by accident. We kind of had a last-minute website we threw together for the longest time, but we have a nice, clean, very, I'll call it pretty website now. But it talks a lot more about kind of what we do. If anybody has any questions, they can always email me. It's larry@skipgenie.com. And there's also a contact number on the website if they want to call in and talk to one of our customer service guys that help them out with any questions they have.
Perfect. Okay, so one last question I want to ask you, which I ask every guest that comes to the show. If someone's brand new out there trying to escape the newbie zone and get that first deal done, what's the advice that you would give them?
This sounds self-serving, but it's get really good at finding these distressed deals, because seriously, on a very small budget, you can go out and go find these easier deals to negotiate once you get the right people on the phone. Just be targeted. Don't spend a ton of money. Spend more time than money initially finding these deals and contacting these owners, and get yourself, get a couple of deals under your belt and some breathing room.
Perfect. All right, well, guys, I'm going to make sure that I have the links to Skip Genie
and the contact information as well under the podcast show notes. So make sure you come back to the episode. If you actually type in Larry Higgins or Skip Genie in the search bar, you will be able to get that post as well with all the show notes and links to the Skip Genie software. So, Larry, I want to say I thank you for taking time out your day. I know you're a busy guy, so thanks for coming onto the show and providing all the value to the listeners today.
I was more than happy to, Chris. I appreciate you having me on here.
Thanks for listening to Escaping the REI Newbie Zone podcast at www.escapethenewbiezone.com.